Um, Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our next TRIZ official webinar, which is called Teaching TRIZ to Kids, Everyday Tools both for Home and Classroom. This webinar is given by Olga Krasheninnikova, Vice President of TRIZ Official on TRIZ for Education. The webinar will last 40 minutes. The talk of Olga will last 40 minutes, and then 20 minutes will be dedicated to your questions and answers. So the total time will be 1 hour. You can ask your questions during the talk. For this, you can use a chat window, which you can open through the menu of Zoom program and type your question during any moment of the presentation. So I wish you a good webinar. Olga, please, the screen is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Valery. Hello, everybody. Let me share my screen first. Okay, so let's get acquainted. My name is Olga, and now I'm living in Andorra, a small country between Spain and France, and I'm running a small school for Russian-speaking kids where I deliver classes of Russian. And I'm using content and language integrated learning. That means that we learn language and subjects at the same time. And our third dimension is TRIZ. So I use TRIZ tools in every class. And I'm also running a small online school where our teachers deliver specifically TRIZ classes for kids of different ages. Let me tell you how we are going to organize our webinar. So this time is not going to be the same as all the previous ones, because I'm going to talk actually for 20 minutes. And for another 20 minutes, I want you to participate. I need your active participation. So please use your chat, because we're going to play some games, because best learning is by practice, as you know. So first, I'm going to dwell upon the relevance of TRIZ in education and to speak about main features of the TRIZ approach. And then I'll give you some examples of TRIZ tools and how we can use them with our kids. And then we're going to practice all together. So let's get started. This year, in the World Economic Forum in Davos, they asked some of the world's largest employers, which skills will be the key in years to come? That is, what competences our kids will need. And they all mentioned creativity as number one. And TRIZ teachers already in the 80s formulated more or less the same goal for teaching TRIZ for kids, to bring up a generation of problem solvers able to provide new ideas to act successfully in unknown circumstances. And if you have a look at modern curricula, you will see that they all focus on such competences and as problem solving and creativity. But with all the good intentions, they still lack some exact tools to teach kids real problem solving. Well, of course, TRIZ can offer such tools, but are they enough? Is just TRIZ enough? Let me refer to one of the latest webinars delivered by Dr. Simon Litvin, where he mentioned the competences that we need for successful innovation. These are some innovation methodology, in our case it's TRIZ, and you also need some other competences, like subject matter experience, technical erudition, analytical thinking, motivation, intellectual capabilities. As for subject matter experience, this is one of the difficulties when teaching TRIZ to kids, because TRIZ is a thinking framework. but you need some expertise and practice to put into it. And kids naturally lack solid knowledge, so we have to make sure they get it somehow. That is why a lot of tools adapted for kids, they deal specifically with resources, with active learning, with research, and TRIZ also nowadays provides good tools to scaffold cognition. As for analytical thinking, before 10 years of age, as you might probably know, analytical thinking is not developed enough. That is why on the one hand, the tools have to be adapted for us to be able to use them with kids, and on the other hand, some specific tools have emerged that help develop logic and analytical thinking. As for intellectual capabilities, does it mean that we have to work only with talented kids? Of course not. And as it turns out, TRIZ tools have proven to boost intellect. Moreover, they are successfully applied with kids with special needs. So let me tell you very briefly about the main features of TRIZ as delivered to kids. In general, when TRIZ teachers try to solve all the problems mentioned before and better adapt TRIZ tools, they formed several communities with different specific features and approaches to teaching TRIZ, but generally they focus on the main value of TRIZ, problem solving. The TRIZ approach to education, to teaching kids, is centered around a problem. And the goal of TRIZ is to teach kids to recognize problems, to see problems, not to be afraid of them, but rather embrace them as something good, to be able to formulate them, probably as a contradiction, and to be able to solve them, and last but not least, evaluate the solutions. And TRIZ provides not only problem-solving tools, such as adapted problem-solving algorithms, but it provides good tools to scaffold cognition, and later on we will see how they work. That is, by applying TRIZ and bringing TRIZ into classroom, we can develop our kids' cognitive skills too. TRIZ for kids also boasts a large database of games and trainings to introduce TRIZ tools to young learners. And moreover, it brings problem solving to any class. These can be open-ended problems, these can be research problems, or any other type of problem, but it equips the kids with good tools and makes them autonomous problem solvers, which is our goal. As a teaching approach, TRIZ can be approached in two ways. So first, you can teach TRIZ across subjects as, and TRIZ is content itself, so you teach specifically TRIZ. And on the other hand, you can teach subjects through TRIZ. And in this case, TRIZ becomes a thinking tool to deal with the content of the subject. In the first case, teaching TRIZ across subjects, it is very good, convenient for extracurricular activities, summer camps, for specially designed courses, whatever. There, you can choose any topic you like, any topic you're expert in. You can teach across discipline, and you're free to choose anything you like and not limited by the curriculum. But on the other hand, if we bring TRIZ into our everyday classroom routine and teach within the curriculum, on the one hand, of course, we are limited by it, and we have a limited choice of topics. And we need the teacher collaboration for kids to develop this meta-cognitive, meta-subject understanding. But on the other hand, the child is exposed to TRIZ on an everyday basis, and it gives good results. In Russia, as far as I know, there are some private schools that use both systems, that teach TRIZ as part of curriculum as a thinking tool through which they teach all the subjects, and they teach TRIZ separately as content itself. And the teachers say that the kids show better academic results, higher creative potential, and they better adapt to new circumstances. They show better collaboration skills, and they're not afraid of hardships or any difficulties. But this is the ideal. What can we do? Let me show you some of the tools that we can use. So one of my favorites, which is very easy to apply, is the so-called system lift. You have probably recognized this as a part of a multi-screen model, the so-called system operator. So the idea to use only this vertical part in the present, the system, the supersystem, and the subsystem, while teaching kids, the idea belongs to TRIZ master Marat Gafitulu. So, and this model is good to introduce the multi-screen model. So, what can we do with this model? For example, we can view living objects within this framework. For example, let's take a frog as a system. And if we speak about living things, then we must speak about their vital functions. So let's observe a frog, and let's take a vital function such as breathing. And let's teach our kids to ask questions, to investigate. So first we ask questions about the supersystem. So for kids, it is called the place. So what can we ask about the place? Frog, where do you live? And the frog answers, I live on land, not far from the water, beside the water. Okay. Let's go to the subsystem. And for kids, these are parts of the objects. So what parts help you breathe in this habitat, in this environment? So our aim is always to teach kids to see the connection between the system, its supersystem, and its subsystem. So the vital function is breathing. To be able to breathe on land, the frog has lungs. Okay, good. So we can ask questions, we can analyze, we can see how it happens and how these screens are connected. Let's move further. The same system lift will help us figure out why the frog is an amphibian. Let's move this lift back in time and ask questions about the frog's past. So, where did you live when you were a child, when you were small? And the frog answers, I lived in the water. Good. And then how did you breathe in the water? And the frog says, oh, I had gills. And here we can see what happens to an amphibian, to a living being. And okay, so before it was a tadpole and it breathed with gills. We can go further back to the past and ask, and what were you before? What did you look like when you first were born? I was an egg with a soft shell. Oh, and where did you live? I lived in the water. Okay. As far as the breathing goes, well, it's not necessary to go into much detail and see if the egg can breathe, but if a child asks this question, you can consider yourself a winner in this case. It means that the child will want to investigate how it happens. Let's move on. It's not all. Okay, let's look at a lizard. So they seem pretty similar, a frog and a lizard, but a frog is an amphibian and a lizard is a reptile. Why? The same screens will help us to investigate and to understand the difference. So let's compare the two screens and let's ask questions to the lizard. So lizard, where did you live? Or what did you look like when you were small? And it says, I was a small lizard. Okay, but where did you live? I lived on land. And how did you breathe? I had lungs. Okay, and what did you look like the moment you were born? When you appeared, I was an egg with a hard shell. And where did you live? On dry land. So you see the difference. And by using this model, we encourage kids to investigate, to draw conclusions. And now we are going to encourage you and let's imagine the kids, to make a hypothesis. What about the newt? A lizard and a newt look the same, but a lizard is a reptile and a newt is an amphibian. Let's try to make a hypothesis and let's try to explain why it can happen. And now you can see that you can use the same screens to prove that the newt is an amphibian, because if you move the system lift back in time and ask questions, you will see that the newt, as a youngster, had gills too and lived in the water and was born, so initially as an egg with a soft shell. So these are the characteristics of an amphibian. And this is how it can work with kids. Of course, you can use the same model in relation to any topic. So this is one of the tools. And now I want you to prepare to take part in our second step and play games with me a little bit. So we're going to play different types of yes-no games. There are really different types of it. And here are only some of them. Linear yes or no game, it means that you place objects only in one dimension, in a line. Planar, 2 dimensions. Spatial, 3 dimensions. And then you can guess whatever. Guess the word, guess what the picture means, guess the a personage of a fairy tale or whatever. You can guess why, you can explain some phenomena playing this game, and you can even resolve detective stories. Okay, so let's start from the easiest one, the linear yes-no game. How you play it. So I am the leader of the game. I'm going to answer your questions, but I can answer only yes and no. So please use your chat and try to guess a number that I keep in mind. It is between 1 and 1000. Let me open the chat. So you're welcome to type your answers. Okay, so the first question is, okay, so I see what you type. And let's see if you can open the chat and see. So the first answer is 1 to 500. Is it from 1 to 500? And this is a good question. Why? Because by using this question, you split the whole lot in 2 parts. And asking this question, you make me answer, and you can just discard a whole lot of the field. So I'm answering the first question, 1 to 500, no. 99, no. Less than 100, no. Is it even? A good question, classification. Okay, no. Okay, So many questions. Okay, is it above 750? No.
Is it a prime number?
Okay, let me see.
It's in the chat.
Uh-huh.
Is it a prime number?
Okay, if you remind me what it is. So let me see. Yes, of course. Above 600. Single digit. Okay, it is a prime number. It is above 600. Is it single digit? No. Below 700? Yes. Is it from 600 to 660? No. The next question is between 600 and 700? Yes. Then 661? No. Is the number repeated in all three digits? No. Ending 9? No. Okay, 661, 680. Yes, between these. It has 0, no. 677, no. $676.80. So the first question, okay, no, it's not. Are there two similar digits? Yes. It has 7 in it. Yes. 667. Yes. Thank you. So I think you've understood how it works. But let's have a look at all the questions and let's see what questions we can easily discard because they just didn't help us anyway. What are the questions? So these are questions that have right at the very beginning the exact number, because if you name all the numbers, it's going to take quite a lot of time to guess. And our aim is to narrow the field of search and to guess in a minimum of questions. So when we play with kids, normally I tell them that they lose if they say the number, but it's not the one that I keep in mind. And then I encourage them to use as few questions as they can. Why this game is the essence of TRIZ, because you might have seen this picture, which shows a Schuller's idea. Instead of random search in all the fields, we have to narrow the field of search and find the exact solution and the exact answer. So the yes and no game, if it's played in a proper way, is exactly the same. You narrow the field and you have to think about the correct question. And so the best of the rules for this game is try to always split in half the whole lot of objects among which you have to discover the only one. And so the best strategy would be the one that you employ. So always find the middle, more or less, and then discard one of them. Okay, so this is linear yes-no game. You can play this with kids starting from 3-4 years old, but you can only use objects like toys, whatever. You always use an uneven number of objects for the kids to be able to easily identify the central object, because what they have to do is find the central object and ask a question. So is the object, I have to guess, to the right of this one, the central one? And then you answer. And in such a way, first you teach them left and right, you teach them identify the center, and you teach them ask good questions, and the kid can guess in 1, 2, 3 questions. So start from 5, then move to 7, 8, 7, 9, 11 objects, and then we can go to another type of yes/no game, planner. So here we use 2 dimensions. There are different strategies that we can use to guess the object. The first strategy is we just classify, because you see that there are different animals here, and you can classify. But if the kids, if it is difficult for them, if they are quite small, you can use another strategy. And it is more or less the same as linear yes/no game. You find a central object. Let's say this is going to be an elephant. And now you split the whole picture in half, but in reference to this object, like, is it to the right or is it to the left from the elephant? And then you have one part of it left, and again you split it into finding a central object. So let's try to play it this way for you to understand and to use it. So I keep in mind something, and guess what it is? Ask your questions. I can see the chart. Okay, land or sea? Sea. Left of the giraffe. Yes, left. Look, you are using both strategies, and which is perfect, which is okay. Land or sea, it is classification. You just classify all the objects here. And left or right, this is the typical planner yes/no game. Okay, so it is sea, it is left. Okay, upper plane. Let me see where, what you mean. Okay, what's the object? What's the reference? If you see upper and lower, we have to see the exact point above equator. Okay, let's see like this. Yes, it is above. Okay, so if you mean, look, the question is top or bottom. Okay. But if it is somewhere, maybe a little bit top, but in the middle, it's going to be very difficult for the kid to guess. That's why if you want to see upper or lower, you can find some object in reference to which you are going to see. So, for example, is it lower than I don't know, this fish, or is it upper? Plane. Okay, I don't see it. Let me see. Maybe it's on the right and I don't see it. Okay, in any case, it is up. It's a cetacean, no. Whale. Okay, so whale, look. Another question, whale. If you name the object and it's not correct, then you lose the game. So if you, a better question would be a mammal. No, no. Okay, so we can see that it's not a mammal. It is the left upper part of the picture. Is it a living thing? Good question. Yes, it is. Is it blue? No. Does it fly? No. Okay. Is it large? Okay, another good question. Let me comment on it. Is it large? In reference to what? I mean, in your mind, something large can be as large as a whale. And in a child's mind, something large can be a little bit larger than the child himself. So if you ask questions about the how large the thing is, so again, you have to find some object, some reference. Is it larger than, for example, than the penguin? Okay, yellowfish, yes. Is it larger than deer? No. Good. Pacific Ocean? No. So yellowfish, but it's not the only one. There are some of them. The yellowfish far from penguin. Okay, these are 3 yellowfish far from penguin. And if you mean the furthest one, then not. Any stripe in the body? No. Yellowfish or goldfish? Yellow. Closest. Among those, so these are 2 good questions. Closest, if you mean to the penguin, then okay. And among those 3, the left one. Yes, this one. This one. The left one. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, that's it. So now you see how it works, and that by analyzing your questions, we can see where the trick can be, and where the most difficult things can arise when you play with kids. Okay, so in any case, if you speak about relative things, try to think of something, of a point of reference. Okay, good. Thank you very much. And we have some 5 minutes left, and let me do this game. I hope you're not familiar with that, but if you know this riddle, let me know. I'll switch to another one. So another question we can guess using yes or no game is, for example, answer the question, why doesn't the spider stick to the web? If the majority of you know the answer, just let me know. If not, then start asking questions. Now that we have warmed up, we can start another game a little bit more difficult. So we have a spider, and we have the spider's web.
Olga,
And
maybe you explain what sort of questions people have to ask here.
Only the question. So let us think about it. Yes. So we have a spider, and we have the spider's web, and we know that the web has to be sticky for the spider to catch the insects. Okay. Okay, good. So I see the first answer. Is the reason connected with spider or web? You are thinking in a good direction, but I cannot answer this question because I cannot answer yes or no. Leave something, spider or web. Yes, it is connected to the web, some property of the web. So, and now if you play with kids, you can help them. You can scaffold their thinking by asking questions what they know about the spider's web. So on the one hand, it has to be sticky. On the other hand, the spider doesn't stick to it. So does the web hold liquid? No, it's not the reason. It doesn't. Good, so it is some property of the web. Look at the web itself. What do you know about it? Is the web, yes, it is, but the web is elastic, but it doesn't help you. Let me help you. I suppose you all more or less are familiar with TRIZ. I know the answer. It's difficult to ask questions. Yes. So the question is the web the same all over? No. Is the web hairy? No. You are all more or less familiar with TRIZ, so try to think of it as a contradiction. So, is there special additive on web? No. Is the contradiction solved? Oh, so many answers. Let me see. Let me scroll down. Is the contradiction solved by some web is not sticky? Yes, that's it. Do the legs contain such structure not to stick to the web? No. And if you look at the very beginning of the chat, then the question was, is it connected to the web's properties or to the spider? So it's not about the spider, it's about the web. So it's not the body of the spider. Is the web sticky for the spider and sticky for the prey? Web has non-sticky properties. Okay, so let me answer. Web has non-sticky properties, yes and no. So it's sticky and not sticky. Is the web silky, okay, for the spider and sticky for the prey? Yes and no. Is the web sticky everywhere? No. Is the web sticky at few places only? Yes. Is the web divided into parts? Yes, kind of. So the web has certain parts with non-sticky parts. Yes. Is the web sticky at crossovers? Yes. The spider knows the non-sticky parts? Yes. Is the spider walking on non-sticky part? Yes. Vertical line and horizontal line are different stickiness. That's it. That's it. You guessed the answer. The radial lines are not sticky. So the spider just moves on those lines that are not sticky. That's the answer. Thank you very much. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And now, before starting to answer your questions, let me get back to, sorry, I somehow switched off the demonstration. Let me get back to the demonstration. Okay. So we have no time for the detective puzzle. And let me first invite you to our social media. the Telegram channel, TRIZ Mindset Kids, and our Facebook group. It is only the beginning, so, but I promise I will post more things on them, starting from now. Okay, I see a comment. However, the answer was not resulted from the question, from my opinion. What do you mean? Can you specify? So the answer resulted actually from you narrowing the the field of search because you know what a contradiction is. So you've been thinking in a let's say. Oops,
Can I talk? Excuse me,
yes.
You asked question. I wrote this comment and I would like to elaborate it, what I mean here. Sometimes there is a question and according to the experience, you know the answer. And then comes it comes some questions in addition, but with this background in your mind, you will always have the answer without considering or directing yourself or orienting yourself on the question and based on the question to find answer. And then that's why I here had some feeling that someone knew the answer from their experience at the point of view of someone who is not child but someone who has more experience, and then by following the question to give us a clue, also the question to give us a clue, we couldn't find that answer. And that's why I think whether it is systematic approach of or methodic approach of finding the answer based on question chain, or it is something that we had and we will unintentionally connect these questions to what we know from our own experiences or knowledge.
Yes, I understand what you mean. And this is a very good question. Thank you very much. Because yes, this is a systematic approach. That is why now it was a very easy puzzle for you. That is why you have you had some answer in mind and you tried to ask questions. So, but if you, when you play with kids and if you give them these rules, so first, if you name the object and it's not that, you fail, and it helps them think more. And the second, make them guess, for example, in not more than 10 questions. It will make them classify. So in any case, what is happening in your mind is classification. You, by any means, you have to classify all the objects that you have in mind, that you see, you have to classify and ask correct questions. If you have, it very often, it happens to adults. If you have an answer in mind, and it might not be correct, but it is psychological inertia in this case. So you always follow your answer that you keep in mind, but it might not be correct. So if I play with teenagers, or if I play with adults, I mean real games, real yes/no games, I try to present something that I'm sure they will not Google, they will not find anywhere. So something that they really have to think about. And if you play this game on a regular basis, you realize what questions you have to answer or to ask. So it is mainly about classifying. It is about classification. It is based on dichotomy that was in ancient Greece. One of the ways to define notions, always split in half and find the correct one. It didn't bring us closer to the right result. Yeah, yes, I see what you mean. It will bring you closer. So it was just because it was quite difficult, and it was because it was for the first time that you played this game. Because if you play some more times, you will realize that. So the first very question was a very good one. So it is related to the properties of the web. And then you start considering the web itself and seeing its properties and analyzing it. So you will just have to do it. Okay. And let me invite you to the forthcoming TRIZ conference. And on the 1st of September, there will be a TRIZ in education section where me and my colleagues will present our speeches. So now I'm ready to answer your questions if there are any.
The question is from Yana. The algorithm in a classification, for example, based on system, super system?
No. The system approach is not about classification itself. But classification, well, you know, it's the regular flow chart. And the yes and no game is the game that you, for example, let's speak about classification of animals. Let's make it this way. If you have a lot of cards with different animals and you play the yes and no game with the kids for several times, so, and they try to guess the object, the animal in, for example, 7 questions, by all means, they will be encouraged to classify, because the way we think is we have something, then we have to move to another level of abstraction to be able just to ask a good question. So they will themselves come to the question, for example, is it a mammal, or does it fly, or does it whatever? So if you play different times with this game, then the kids will realize that there are repetitive questions that they ask and that help them find the result quicker. So it's not about asking the color blue or whatever. It's about asking, so moving a big part of objects aside. So what we do is, for example, if you play with kids, we physically just move, take apart all the objects that do not belong to the group, that do not answer yes to this question. And then they will see. So I say, is it a mammal? And okay, I move aside all the animals that are not mammals, and they see, okay, these are mammals. Then they just have to classify them too, somehow. They will have to see where they live, or whatever, in the water or on dry land. So they will have to ask these questions. And this is about classification in any case. About spider. So look, this is a tricky item. Let's get back to it. So speaking about the spider. So the first question was perfect. Is it about the web? So yes, these are some properties. So if it is, then we start thinking, if it is connected somehow to the web, then it means that the web has some properties that are not sticky for the spider. And then in this case, if you are familiar with TRIZ, that's why I've chosen this puzzle exactly for you, you start thinking, so the web must be sticky for the insects and must not be sticky for the spider. So if it is not about the spider, some properties of his legs, of its legs, or whatever, then it's about the properties of the web. So sticky and not sticky. And you think how you can resolve this contradiction. And that's it. That would be the algorithm for this puzzle. But if your kids, for example, are not familiar with that, and you play this game, they will still guess the answer, but it will take a lot of time. By playing this game, you can take them, you can introduce this notion. You can speak about this contradiction. You can say, look, so the web must be sticky and must not be sticky at the same time. So it can be used as a kind of introduction into this very topic of contradiction and how they are resolved. Oh, I invite you to play more games. It just takes practice. The more games you play, the better you master this yes and no game. There are still more difficult games. You can guess a detective story, but I'm not sure if you have time for that.
Jan asks how to find a right result with sticky one line and not sticky another line.
Well, you can help kids because, you know, in any case, if you are conducting this game, you know the answer. So you just, you know it. So you have to conduct the games. You have to give prompts. If you see that they cannot guess. So and besides, you know, every game has its scope, its objective. So you should keep in mind what objective you have, right? So okay, if you want them to resolve the contradiction using this game, so you have to give prompts. You have to help them think this way. If you use this game for classification, it's another thing. You have to give prompts to help them classify. So, for example, if they ask several questions like, is it a giraffe? Is it an elephant? Is it a whatever? And everything they mention are mammals. You just have to, you just help them. You say, we can say all these, we can name all these animals just using one word. Let's find it. It's a mammal. So in this case, you help them classify.
PVN asks, if we think from the spider's point of view, we would have an answer that on the side of the spider spreads different types of web. Am I correct?
Why not? You may also do it. There are different ways to solve one and the same puzzle, of course.
Mm-hmm. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's try the different, we have still 5 minutes, the different types of questions not related to spiders in the web. Olga, my question would be, you know that TRIZ is very much focusing on development on creative imagination, not only on dichotomy and narrowing the search space, but also on creative imagination, which is necessary to solve open-ended tasks, to fight psychological inertia. How this part is supported by teaching TRIZ for kids?
Well, there are special courses for development of creative imagination, and as you might know, there are also special tools for that, because there are principles for development, or principles for inventing different new things, new types of things. And in TRIZ for kids, there are, let's say, special wizards. So these tools are like wizards, and you use them to create new things. So it's, again, the same tools, but adapted for kids. Unfortunately, it's not possible to pack everything into one webinar, but if you want to go on, you can suggest your topics and we will see what we can do.
A question from PVN. Do you have courses run in English?
Well, we're working on it, actually.
You know
Since-
that TRIZ is developing a curricula for certification courses on teaching TRIZ for kids. Yeah, this course is available in Russian now only, but hopefully next year we will introduce courses for courses in English. And Olga is responsible for it. The question is, who is eligible for it? Olga?
Anyone.
Anyone, yes. Well, there are two types of courses. One's for teachers or parents and another for kids. But at TRIZ Official, I think we will run courses for teacher and parents. And Olga has online school for kids, I guess. Right, Olga? Can you say?
Yeah, but so far these are in the Russian language.
In Russian language, yeah.
Yes, first we have to foster good teachers in English. And then run courses in English.
Because I personally run course on creative imagination development in English, but I hope you all know it. It's available online, but it's for adults, not for kids. Okay, we still have time for questions. Nana Kohan asks, can we have your LinkedIn profile link to stay connected?
If you want to stay connected, just please join us on Telegram. So let me find it. That's so far that's the easiest way.
Yes, definitely. In the meantime, a different question. What are TRIZ tools highlighted, especially chosen in this course for kids?
Which one? Which course for kids? Do you mean a certification course?
You mean a Russian course or English creative imagination course? Russian course. Which TRIZ tools are highlighted in your Russian course, Olga?
A course for teachers, a certification course for teachers in Russian is quite a big one, and it is the first level of certification for TRIZ teachers, teaching TRIZ to kids, and it has a lot of, let me find it, it has quite a lot of topics and a lot of tools. So first, it is creative imagination development, of course, which is the basis for adults especially, because if not, psychological inertia will keep you standing at the same point. Then it is cause-effect analysis. It is contradiction, specifically physical contradiction. And let me remember. Then some part dedicated to visual thinking, to the senses of the kids and how to use all these in your courses. And then there is a special part like a constructor of lessons that helps you choose the correct tool to form your lesson.
Oh, well, you can see it on my screen if you, Olga, let me share the screen. Okay. I can show the Russian website, which is dedicated to this program. And let me share the screen. Yes. I hope everyone can see my screen now. Yeah, Olga, can you see my screen? Okay.
Yes.
That's Russian training TRIZ technologies from International TRIZ Development Institute together with International TRIZ Material. Yeah, critical innovative thinking of students with the help of TRIZ technologies. It's a thematic translation which I use now. So, but you can see here which TRIZ tools are available. Oh, sorry.
This is an old version, I think.
It is
Okay.
what is on the website right now.
Okay, let me send you the new one then. But more or less.
Okay, Olga, you can send it to me. Now the time is over. We have to finish. If you send to me this information, I will distribute it on the website link on TRIZ Official.
Perfect. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Okay, everyone, thanks again. Olga, thanks again for a very insightful webinar. And please wait for our next webinars. The announcement will be made. Okay, thank you all very much. Bye-bye. The recording will be available of this webinar.
Have a great